an 11 that you would set and forget for
Got you.
Arsenal
Okay.
for the next 5 years, okay?
Okay.
And you'll have to sell the other guys so we can see how much money you
Okay.
can make from them as well.
Okay.
So you just chuck out some numbers, it'll be fine. Okay. First up, Aaron Ramsdale versus David Raya. When he came in, David Raya, was it a conversation for you? Or you're like, oh, no, David Raya is better? Because I think we're to a point we're obviously being led by the evidence, which is, why have you brought him in? Well, he must be miles better.
Yeah. I think, here's what I think. I think David Raya is better. But the margin of how much better he is, I don't think is that much.
I agree.
So and again, you look for a lot of fans go, well, he's not, and why has Arteta done this? Well, Arteta he's kind of told us quite a few times. He's literally spoken about a number of things. He said his bravery. He loves his bravery. That at the end of the Man City game, he said, "I love that he doesn't just kick it everywhere," which I don't think was a dig at Ramsdale, but felt a little bit. He said he loves his. He's talked about his. We can see on the stats his starting position is higher. We can see the cross-claiming numbers. Right. Also, Ramsdale tends to go over bodies when he claims things, and Raya almost comes between bodies and comes up, which I like. He's a little bit quicker off his line. I spoke to a goalkeeping expert, John Harrison, who should have you had him?
No.
Oh, he's amazing.
Ooh.
A guy called John Harrison, who's fantastic.
Okay.
And he spoke about how Ramsdale sometimes 1v1s this is his words, and I would never know this. He said something along the lines of he's too far down the line of the shot sometimes, so he turns certain situations into higher XG.
I understand.
Higher XG chances, essentially.
He
so
sort of decides for the attacker.
a little bit. So the Garnacho one, the offside goal in the goal this season, in the game this season, sorry, was an example of that. So that's all true, fine, or whatever. You can think of whatever you want about it. Is that worth £27 million? Up to you to decide. Is that worth upsetting Aaron Ramsdale, who is probably one of the best goalkeeping prospects in the world? It's up to you. Clearly, Arteta thinks it is.
The rest of the squad, there may be an element where they go, I need to be on it here.
We don't know. We're working with scraps. So Arteta might have in his mind, and if he can manage this, Ramsdale out on an 18-month loan, comes back in as a better keeper, and he phases him out, and Ramsdale then comes in for the peak of his time at Arsenal. That could be an absolute masterstroke. Mm-hmm. And we don't know. This is the thing, we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is we guess, and the moment someone's pulled out the team, well, they're gone forever. So.
Okay, so you going with David Raya?
Yeah, I don't think he'll be here in 5 years' time, but yeah, I will set him for now over Ramsdale. Yeah.
Okay. What, you think he'll go elsewhere after that?
I just can't imagine him being here for some reason. I don't know why.
That's interesting.
I just can't. I don't see him here for a long time.
Okay, I would go David Raya as well, but yeah, it's kind of tight. But yeah, right back. Ben White versus Cedric. Do you want to say this quickly? I think also, I guess I will chuck in Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu can go anywhere in this team if you want him, because I've got right-sided centre-back, and that's William Saliba against Tomiyasu. That feels unfair to me.
That is unfair, yeah.
So we can rattle through. There's a few we can get through quickly here, and I think the back line, there's a lot of it. So just quickly then, Ben White versus Cedric or Tomiyasu?
Cedric, obviously. No, Ben White.
Yeah, so, and that will be a 37-year-old Cedric by this point. You're going with Ben White?
I am. Tomiyasu's the closest he's ever been, I would say, to taking that slot. Ben White is basically, unless Ben White literally hasn't got any legs, he's played. And it's the first time he's gone, actually, do you know what? I think we can, which could be a confidence in his squad and confidence in Tomiyasu, but it's the first time he's been willing to do that, which is interesting. Again, I'm not saying he's going to sell Ben White. I'm not saying he's out the team. It's just the first time that's happened.
Okay. Left side is, so Saliba over Tomiyasu, obviously. Gabriel and Kivior. Is this an easy one? I haven't got a huge amount of time, so if it's not, don't go into it.
Just very quickly, it does depend on the left back. Gabriel is the perfect left back to cover for Zinchenko, because Gabriel is terrific. Sorry, left-sided centre back. He's terrific at defending the wide channels when Zinchenko goes roaming. If Zinchenko changed, I'd be less sure that Gabriel is the absolute right start, because I think Kivior is fantastic. I probably would still pick Gabriel. I think Kivior's massively underrated, but I will pick Gabriel.
Interesting. Okay, Kivior obviously 23, Gabriel 25, still young. Left back, Zinchenko versus Timber. This is what I wanted to get to. Right, if you've got to play one in every single game, you've got a 26-year-old Zinchenko, still so young. So he's only going to be 31 by the end of this 5 years spell. Timber, 22. I thought you said something really good in a video recently, and I've been thinking about it a lot because I think a lot of people are clamouring for certain players because there've been so many Premier League injuries or injuries full stop. But I think I'm going to have a new rule for myself, which is when you are thinking, oh, when he comes back in, everything will be fine. Take 20% off that.
Yeah.
Because you said in the video that you always overrate players that are sort of injured or going to make their way back in. And is there any truth in that when it comes to Timber, who is 22, and who out of these two would you pick?
Yeah, it's the if I can just make it to Christmas rule. It's like everything will be all right if I can just make it. It's like it won't. You'll still be you. It's like those people who go on holiday. Like, I'm just going to go on holiday. It's like, well, you'll still be there. You're still in your body. You're still there. So the same problems. I would go with Zinchenko because I think Timber, he's literally played half a Premier League game. We can't sit here and go, he's the best left back. We haven't got the sample. I think I will disagree with myself in 6 months' time, but for now, Zinchenko.
Interesting. Also, with Zinchenko and Timber, there's a bit of a David De Gea Onana thing where you've got one guy's brilliant at this bit, but you might feel there's a weakness there. Timber, I mean, I guess maybe just in terms of comparison, not as technically adept as Zinchenko on the ball, because I mean Zinchenko from that point of view is a joke, but then there'll be those moments where he gives away the ball and then Okay, so you're going to go Zinchenko. Interesting. Okay, Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, El Neni, and Jorginho. Again, interesting squad building here where you've got a 24-year-old Declan Rice, cost a lot of money, but understandably so. Thomas Partey, 30, so he'd be 35 by that point. El Neni, 31, and Jorginho. I'm going to just get rid of those two.
I think that's fair.
Feels harsh, but yeah, I'm not going to totally erase them. I'm literally not, because it does seem cruel. There's still people. Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. I mean, easy one. We're going to Declan, right? And do you see his future there at the base?
Yeah, he's a 6. He'll step forward into the pockets, but he will be primarily a 6.
Okay. Right-sided centre midfielder, Martin Odegaard and Fabio Vieira.
I think Odegaard will end up on the left.
Do you?
I do.
Why?
Because I think other players will move around, and I think the reason Odegaard's on the right at the minute is because I think the reason Arteta likes him there is because he can combine with Saka, and I think he just wants good players close together. It's as simple as that. And I think Odegaard, you talk about winger complements, and I'm stealing this from a guy called George Vutsas. He talks about winger complements. He talks about if you have a high touch winger, you want a low touch left central midfielder, right, let's say on the left side, and if you've got a low touch winger, you want a high touch midfielder next to them. For example, Odegaard and Martinelli could be lights out, and with someone who is constantly making those runs in behind. With Saka, he wants the ball a lot more, and you can get the ball clustered on that side and have so many touches without it really necessarily going anywhere. You want to try and complement them as much as you can.
Bit like, I guess, you've seen Bernardo Silva and Doku at the moment. It's like less of that sort of vertical running in behind from Doku, but Bernardo Silva in terms of the spaces that he gets and then moves the ball onto Doku quickly. Yeah, it's very difficult to defend. Okay, so we go. So, but are you
I'll
for this one?
I'll put him in there.
Okie doke. Right, left centre midfield. We've got Havertz versus Smith Rowe here, but you can again. I will provide you because I think, say for example, well, let's come back to that because I think you've got on the right wing a lot of these guys are set in stone, which is kind of the point of us talking about it. Because Bukayo Saka and Reece Nelson, again, do you feel like he will move on to a different position?
I think he will, but I actually think we could be approaching 5 years before it happens. Okay. I think he'll be in his mid to late 20s before that anything moves.
Martinelli and Trossard. For all of our love of Trossard, he is never going to usurp Martinelli, especially as a 29-year-old of this 5-year period. No. He's one of those who's, you dot him about. I guess from the attacking phase, Trossard is your Tomiyasu. From the defensive side, Tomiyasu is your Trossard, right? Good comparison. But you'll go with Martinelli for that one?
I would. The only thing with Martinelli is he's kind of still got this. He's got a bit of a Smith Rowe problem where he's always in a conversation with Saka. Saka's not normal. So what happens is Saka gives you this output, this ability to break open games, get game-winning assists, all these things, and it's Saka and Martinelli, and we're trying to put them in the same category.
He's also the local lad.
Exactly, which is another thing. And Saka is the darling of Arsenal Football Club, and I think Martinelli isn't quite in that category. I still think he needs to access what Martinelli does is he always tries to access the box round the back. And Saka always cuts in, which is nice to some degree, but I'd love to see Martinelli access the box a little bit more from the front sometimes. I think sometimes he doesn't quite time his runs right. I think sometimes he gets himself, he takes too many touches. He just needs to refine himself a little bit. But by the way, he's 22. That's completely normal. He's just being compared to Saka, who's
also crucially, his output was as good
really
as
good.
Saka's last year, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got some weird areas now. So we've got left-sided centre midfield. I've got Kai Havertz and Emil Smith-Rowe. I can chuck Trossard into that in a 5-year conversation, but I think time will tell, and there'll be areas that you might want to move, and we've got some options for that in a second. Give us your, if you had to put your money on Havertz or Smith-Rowe, who will have the better career and who will have
the better career?
Well, who would you want for the next 5 years?
If I have to set and forget right now, Havertz.
Okay. Does he love the club like Smith Rowe does, though? Do you know what I mean? Bit of a traitor, aren't you, really? That's a shame.
So you hate Smith Rowe, is that what you're saying?
For someone who analyses a lot, he's just gone for the shiny thing. I'm joking.
I think Havertz, I'll say all this and there's a massive but coming. Havertz is a brilliantly intelligent footballer. Everyone who works with him will say that. He times his runs so well. He can create space for you. He times his arrivals well. He could be so brilliant in the attacking third. I think once he gets his confidence up a little bit, I think he can start to impact games a little bit more. But there's just I think with the intensity of the Premier League and someone who is so lax in their style, I wonder if Arsenal fans will ever take to him.
Interesting. I love Emil Smith-Rowe. I really want him to leave so he can just go, shut up. Shut you all up. Yes, please. I just love his movement. I just think he's so smart. I just think it's such a shame that he's not.
Jamie Carragher said he's the best ball carrier in the Premier League at one point, and I think at one point he was correct. He's not now, but
I just go back to Croydon, go to Palace, even
go
on
Croydon,
loan.
mate.
Just enjoy yourself. I think he'd kill it. Striker position: Jesus versus Nketiah.
Yeah, it's Jesus. I think with Jesus, if Jesus can stay, it's like, how do you want to construct your attack? It's kind of, you can have a situation where you essentially make your wingers your superstars. You can make it a situation with Saka and Martinelli, who are your superstars, and Jesus is their facilitator. But if their facilitator can't get on the pitch for half the season, you've got a problem. And again, another presser yesterday, Arteta was essentially asked, do you want to move for that kind of number 9, that Osimhen, Haaland type profile in terms of inevitability, in terms of goal scoring? And he said something along the lines of, look, you want as many goals in the team as possible. and he's moved, and Pep said this in an interview recently. He's like, I adapt to my players way more than people think. Jesus is a fantastic football player who makes this system right now work. But is there another level we could go to and adapting, maybe changing Saka's role slightly, changing Martinelli's role slightly, changing the combination of the 8 slightly to get a number 9 in who scores goals? I think that's possible.
Do you know what I like the idea of a little bit as well? If you look at Man City and having Alvarez, Jesus as an Alvarez, I think could be
Haaland
really good fun.
As the kind of backboard.
What, you think him as the backboard?
Sorry, not Haaland. Havertz. Jesus Christ.
Right. Oh, I see what you mean.
Havertz is a kind of backboard second striker to another number 9.
Right, so here we go. Long list of numbers here. Just going to pick out a number. How much are you getting for these players? Right, I'm going to move to my brief now.
Between 2 and a peak and trough.
So, Ramsdale contract expires in 2026. Is that right?
Say with all these, we could sell them right now.
You're going to sell them? Yes. How much could you sell them next summer? Let's do that.
Okay, next summer.
25-year-old Ramsdale. How much are you selling for? How much do you want?
I think we could the maximum. So hard. I think between 60 and 80 million should be our aim.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Name me 3 better prospects in world football in terms of goalkeepers.
Fair point.
And he's English tax.
Wow. Who's going to pay it though? Who's going to pay it? Maybe Newcastle. Feels like I think Arsenal will be flirting with Newcastle.
Yeah.
I think he'd have good fun there as well, wouldn't he? The fans would love him, absolutely love him. But Pope's been brilliant for them. Time will tell. Cedric, big bucks.
Packet of crisps.
Okay. If you disagree, of course, let us know.
I think he'll go on a free.
Okay. It's Tommy Yasu. Contract expires in 2025. He is 25.
As in, what could we get for him?
Yeah.
I think between 40 and 70. I think it will depend on the buyer.
That is a horrible take.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I think you underrate.
I think you need
Tomiyasu.
to. You think there's too much. You think there's too much coin out there. I think there's enough coin.
I think to a Bayern Munich.
Oh.
Who are interested? I can see a Bayern Munich coming in. I think he's that good.
I don't think they give you that much. Maybe 40 at a push.
40 at a push.
Kivior.
I think the problem is that I don't think he is. It's similar to Tomiyasu. I don't think he's as rated outside of Arsenal. Between 20 and 35 million.
Okay. Screams West Ham for me.
Yeah.
Timber.
Timber.
He's got a contract till 2028. He's 22. Got him for 35 million. Done well there, haven't you?
Again, what could we get for him as a maximum price? I think between 40 and 50, about what we paid for him from the right club.
Yeah, I think you'll get. I think he could be one you could get a lot for if it came to that moment. It's going to be interesting to see how that battle goes in the next year with him and Zinchenko. Yeah. Okay, Thomas Partey, 30.
I think with the injury issues, unless a Juventus come in, I think the absolute maximum we're getting for him is about 20, 25 million. I think he'll probably go for about 10, 15.
Go on, just numbers now. El Neni.
He'll go on a free.
Jorginho.
Free. 10 million.
10 million?
To a free. Yeah, to an Italian club. They love him.
Expires in 2024. You ain't
probably
getting nothing.
Oh, if he's going into... Yeah, okay, yeah. In which case you go for free.
Fabio Vieira. Contract till 2027. Give me a number.
Between 10 and 20.
Oh, not much.
Yeah.
Okay. Emil Smith-Rowe. 2026, his contract. 23 years old.
Between 15 and 25.
Okay. Reece Nelson. Contract till 2027. Why did he sign that?
Yeah, I think with the new contract next summer, we could probably maybe get 20 million. 24-year-old
Eddie Nketiah. Contract 2027.
I think a Brentford or whatever he's worth. Again, it depends on the buyer. Because I know I'm going to get cooked for all these, but it just depends on the buyer. At 30 million for a Brentford, but again, he'd be worth 10 million to a Napoli. It's like it's so hard.
Do you know what? Do you see him at? But I guess he probably won't happen now because they're going to got someone like João Pedro. But I could see him like going. Say they sell Ferguson, they bring in Nketiah.
Yeah,
you still get yourself some goals
for Brighton or Brentford. He'd do really well.
Yeah, that's true. And Trossard, it was on the scrap heap, sadly. 29-year-old, not going to get much here.
10 to 15 million, maybe.
Fair enough. So with all that money in the bank in this fictional world that we've created. The amount of money that you would get back from all of those is 255 million.
I'm pocketing all of it, mate. I'm going
so
to
I
the
guess in that 3 or 4 year period, if you use that 255 to bring in 3 players, 5 players, let's say.
Okay.
Then you can go and do a Liverpool and go get yourself an Alisson and a Van Dijk.
Yeah.
And make that move from, which you've already made in terms of the Declan Rices of this world, but that move from couple of wholesale changes, youngsters taking a bit of a gamble here to final pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah. There was some conversations the other week about Arsenal exploring the possibility of Mbappe. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. But because for loads and loads of different reasons, and I actually don't think it should happen because I think he might mess certain things up. But there were some people being, why are we in? If you want to compete, if you can't simultaneously hold these two views, we should be competing with Man City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and all these clubs. We shouldn't be in for the best players in the world. You can't hold those two opinions. And people, you go. Oh, I think we should have tried to sign Jude Bellingham in the summer. You're ridiculous. You're pie in this. Okay, but you also think we should win the best league in the entire world. Yeah. So what game are we playing here?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
bizarre.
And that's the move. That's the move now. And that comes down to what Arteta's done, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Ciao.